The video you're about to see is for educational purposes only. What you do with this information is at your own risk. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be 2 of 4 with the Switch Online console apps. So let's go ahead and check it out. Alright, so today's video we're going to be looking at the Super Nintendo app. But just like before on the N64 video, I'm going to first show the app with the titles that I pre-installed. And we're going to scroll through them slowly. And I'm going to just talk about this setup as we go along. So with the Super Nintendo, it's a lot more lenient than the N64 version. I was able to add several titles with no issues, but there is still a compatible list, which I'll leave a link in the description so that way you can look through it and see if there's one that you want to add, if there's something that I didn't add for you guys. But what I didn't do was add like hundreds of them, because I know there's a huge set list of titles. Why I didn't do that is because, number one, it takes a really long time to get cover art and then convert them so that way it'll work with this emulator on the Switch. But with the bigger packs, it takes a lot of space, and even though it has a lot more titles, it tends to slow down the app. And also the biggest thing is that with like 500 titles, I don't know if that's, a lot of people don't use them all. So I just wanted to make like a general setup. I googled like what is the best titles ever on the Super Nintendo, and I went ahead and added them. And I also added the ones that I personally like as well. So if there's something here that you didn't see and you would like, of course, we're going to have another setup on this video where you can let me know of the title that you're thinking. I can go ahead and try it out, and I will update the database as we go along. So that's pretty much it, guys. I added several titles. Like I said, it's a little bit more lenient, and I think it stops right here on the Battletoads. And everything was playing fine. Some titles that I tried to install did not load, just like the N64, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I did notice that a lot of the titles that didn't work for like the Sega Genesis or the Nintendo version of the app. So if there's something that you'd like and it's not here, chances are that it's on a different console app. But I guess for now, this is what we got, and we'll go from there. So now that we see the app, we can go ahead and talk about the setup on the SD card. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this and open up my SD card. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is open up our SD card and have it ready for file transfer. And you also need to have Custom Firmware already on your Switch in order for this to work as well. But now that we have the SD card open, we can now download this one zip file for today. So if you look in the description down below, there's going to be several links, and one of them should say the SNES Online Pack download here. Once you click on that link, it should take you to the page where you can start the download process. And after that, you can have it dragged to the desktop like I have done already. Now, what we can do is extract the folder inside of here using our extracting software. I like to use 7-zip, and I highly recommend it. And of course, if you want to follow along with this video here, I'll leave a link in the description to 7-zip. You can download it for yourself onto your PC, and then you can follow with me here. But with 7-zip, I'm going to open this archive, and inside the archive we have the folder, the SNES Online Pack. We're going to want to highlight and extract it to the desktop. Now that we have it on the desktop, we can go ahead and open the folder, and here we can see the contents inside this pack. So just like the N64, this pack has everything you need in order for you to get started with this app. So with that being said, you do need to have the app already installed on your Switch and updated to the latest version. And of course, if you don't, you can refer to the SNES Online Pack, which has everything you need in order to get you set up and updated, right? So without getting too much detail, you can look through the folders and you can find out what I'm talking about. So once you have the app already installed and updated to the latest version, you can then transfer the one atmosphere folder to your SD card. So just like the N64, there's an atmosphere folder that already has the directories needed, so that way you can just highlight, copy, and paste it to your root of your SD card. But just wanted to mention that the SNES Online is a little bit different in that it needs a special patch in order for it to work on the Switch, or specifically this version of the app that I built the database on. So just like before, we're going to want to right click and copy the folder, and we're going to want to right click on our SD card and paste it. Now, if it's your first time, you might not get a message that says this, that it has the files already with the same names. This is because I already have the folder in the directories, and I'm just copy pasting over. But if you want to be safer, like I normally like to do, I like to go into the directory folder and delete this folder and then just put fresh. But it's up to you. It doesn't hurt anything to replace these files. It's just replacing the database and things that I added to it. So I'm gonna replace the files as destination, and it might ask me again for the patch, but we'll see. Alright, so the files have been transferred over into our Switch, and now once you go back to the Switch and check out the app, it should, if it's your first time, it should say that you have a bunch of titles that are new, and they'll be blank, but you will hover over them and it will unlock them as you go along. But yeah, so that's pretty much it with the SD card, and now your Switch should have the SNES Online app and the database, so you should have all the titles. But we can go ahead and check that out. So I'm going to eject my SD card and go back into the Switch and see if it's still working. Alright, so back on the Switch, we're going to go into the SNES Online app and check it out. Alright, so just like in the beginning of the video, we should have all these titles starting from here. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same setup for y'all, but I think it will be, because it is the database that I have it already pre-saved. So if it's mixed up for you, I'm sorry, you can just go ahead and move them like you would normally do if with, what is it, with Y? And then you can move the apps or the titles accordingly. But if it already looks like this, then you can scroll through the titles and check them out. They're all here. Oops. And just to see that we can play them, we can go ahead into this one. And this is one of my favorite SNES games. I do have it muted because I don't want to get copyrighted with anything, but there we go. Everything should work just fine. Donatello's the best. Change my mind. Alright, so it should work just normal with no issues, and I haven't had any issues with any of the titles that I installed. I already tried all of them, and just like the app, you can suspend, you can rewind, just like with all the other titles that come pre-installed, and use the app like you'd want to. So that's pretty much it, guys. Now you should be good to go, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the compatibility list. I still can't say that word, and things like that. So with that, I use the Cave database manager from the dev. His name is Dark Akuma, and he has a website, which I'll leave a link in the description, so that way you can go through that as well. We'll also briefly go through it, just so that way you can see what I went through in order to get this to work, and things like that. So these are the titles that I added. Looks like 101 games, and 101, that's including the ones that it already comes with. Whatever it came with, I added more. So that's pretty much the same thing. Of course, just like the N64, almost all the apps have a compatible list, and here's the SNES one, which I'll leave a link in the description as well. And here it's pretty much the same. You'll see here in the middle that the green works great, yellow has minor issues, pretty much exactly like the N64, but a different setup here. Like I said, it's not so complicated as the N64. So if there's something that I didn't add that you would really want, you can of course request it in the comments, and I will add it for you and then update the database accordingly. So I know this kind of sucks for others that won't have it and you have to reinstall it, but like I said, I didn't want to have an app that has like 500 and like only people use like only 25. And it takes up space and makes the app go slower. So I just figure adding some here and there's would be a good start. But here you can scroll through the things. Devs already looked into it, and of course whatever's in green works just fine. And things that are in white I can actually try for myself and see if it works, because it's a lot more easier. So just let me know. You can go ahead and look through this list if you want to, and comment down below what you want me to add if it's possible. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And of course, with the cave manager, here is the website for the dev that made this mod manager or database manager. It's Dark Akuma's website, and here's pretty much just like the N64. You can look through it and see if you want to try it for yourself. You would scroll down to this yellow area and click on the here, and here's where you'd want to choose which console. So for this example, I use Super Nintendo, and the Famicom has its own thing too, and you can do the setup for that if that's what you have. I went with a Super Nintendo because I'm in the US, and that's what works for me. So I'm sorry about that. But if you're interested, you can go ahead and look for those. We can just do the Super Nintendo atmosphere and then show the guide. And here, just like the N64, you'll have all the tools you need and the instructions to get you started. Alright, so that's pretty much it, guys. Everything worked out on my end, and I hope it works out for you. But of course, if it doesn't, you can let me know in the comments, and I'll try and help you out as best I can. Pretty much, the only reason why it wouldn't work is because firmware might be too low for this version of update of the app, and or your custom firmware is too low. I don't know. It should work just fine, but at the moment I am on the latest version of Atmosphere, which I think is 1.4.0, and the latest version of Switch firmware, which is 15.0.0. But other than that, guys, everything worked out here. I hope everything goes well for y'all, and of course I appreciate the support and everybody that's watching, the feedback as well. Let me know if you want anything else. Of course, I'm going to post this on Twitter as well, so that way you can check it out if you like. And thanks for watching, everybody, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.